what is one book that changed your life?
So I'm a planner, so I did plan ahead for this question, but even in planning, I still didn't have just one. And I also broke it down into fiction and non-fiction.
That's fine. I mean, who I interviewed yesterday had two. We've had a couple of other people who have had two as well.
Hey, so. Sacha Black had an entire genre for her.
There you go, Sacha Black had a genre. We don't have too strict rules around here.
Okay, good. So I'd say for fiction, a lot of the fantasy series that I read growing up, so Deltora Quest, the Tamora Pierce books, they really sort of contributed to my love of the genre and also the love of the series form. And then I would also say Throne of Glass, which I know is like a big cliche, but that sort of came to me at a time where I'd had a lot of literary fiction and classic books sort of shoved down my throat for a really long time, and I'd sort of forgotten my love of fantasy, and I sort of got wrapped up in this idea that in order to be a serious writer you had to write literary fiction, and I sort of rediscovered my love of fantasy and love of addictive series through Throne of Glass. So while it's not the most highbrow series, it still holds a pretty special place for me because it did reintroduce fantasy to me and series to me. And in terms of non-fiction, because I know there's obviously a lot of writers listening, two of the non-fiction books that I have found really, really sort of instrumental in changing either my thinking or challenging my ideas about my processes. One would be Rachel Aaron's 2K to 10K. That was originally a blog post, and I think the blog post is still live on her website, but 2K to 10K is all about refining your writing process and optimizing your strengths and how to get as much work done while still having that enjoyment of the process. I read that years ago, and it's one that I come back to time and time again when either I'm feeling a little bit stumped or maybe I don't want to do a big edit, but I have to. So, you know, that's a really good one. And a more recent one is Zoe York's Romance Your Brand, and that's 3 books that she's got out in that sort of non-fiction series. And even though it's, you know, sort of based around romance, I think it's really applicable to every author. And one of the concepts she talks about in that book is the concept of Series 2.0. And that's something I talk about in my book and sort of, you know, use her concept as a launch pad for my own experiences. But Series 2.0 is basically the idea that you take what readers loved about your first series and you put it into your second series and you reiterate, you make it bigger, you make it better. And you just keep doing that until all your books are, you know, just building upon the best things about the previous one. And that really resonated with me deeply. And that's what I'm trying to emulate in my own series and my own processes. So yeah, I think that was like 5 books, but
I'll allow it.
That might be a record.
Thank you.
Might actually be a record, unless you count the genre thing.
And that's with my planning too. Imagine if I hadn't have seen that question beforehand.